of Confessions of a Rock'n'Roll Cameraman. I am your host, Pat Canavan, in conversation with Rock'n'Roll Cameraman Tony Wanamaker.
Hey, Pat, how you doing?
I'm doing great.
Awesome, man.
Donald Duck mug.
Donald Duck, we got a ship. I'm wearing the hat from the HMCS Ojibwa, which is a submarine.
A submarine. But
that's another story. It's a nautical theme today, kind of.
Nautical theme, but we're talking about Queen.
We're talking about Queen. Freddie Mercury, right? Brian May, Roger Taylor.
The band Queen and not the woman Queen.
Yes, and on Her Majesty.
And so you got to, you get to meet all sorts of rock stars. I mean, it's part of your job to go out and see rock stars. And you got to see Queen. Now,
yeah, man.
And this is Innuendo.
Yeah.
Tell me, how did you get that disc?
Well, this is from 1991, Pat, and a guitarist gave me this, as a matter of fact, or I stole it from his room. I'm not really sure. I think he gave it to me. Thank you, Brian. Brian May, one of the world's greatest guitarists, gave me this, and that was sadly the last album that Freddie Mercury would record.
That's right.
Yeah.
So now, how did you get to meet Brian May and the guys from Queen?
Yeah, I guess, again, rock and roll serendipity. I was assigned to go to a big bash on the West Coast in Long Beach, California.
Okay.
And it was on board the Queen Mary, the ship. So the Queen Mary, now imagine this, folks. This is about 300 meters, right? Okay, same kind of size. The Queen Mary's a little bit bigger, add another 100 meters to it maybe, or I should say, another 30 meters to it.
Okay.
And about 30% wider. So actually, an easier analogy, think of the Titanic and add 30% to its midsection. That's how big this vessel was. We were going to go and attend a $200,000 party.
On the Queen Mary?
Yes, man.
Oh, for Queen?
Yeah, man.
Oh.
Amazing. Yeah, so we're going to celebrate Queen on the Queen Mary. How apropos.
Yeah.
The reason we were there, a new company started, Hollywood Records. So at the behest of Michael Eisner, who was the CEO, chairman of Disney Corporation, he hired this lawyer, Peter Paterno, right, to run Hollywood Records because they wanted something a little more ribald, a little more risque, a little different than maybe the Disney audience.
Yeah, so to break out of that Disney box.
100%, Pat.
Burst the Disney bubble a bit.
So he paid him a small sum of $10 million. Right? The band, they paid him $10 million to buy their 14 album catalog at the time.
No way. $10 million.
What do you think that'd be worth today, Pat?
Oh, 150?
150 million? Easily. Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah.
The catalog alone. So what year was this?
This was 91. I was there with Mike Williams. Okay, love Mike Williams.
Williams. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right.
Yeah, and a year earlier, they started this company, Hollywood Records.
Right.
Yeah.
So this was the anniversary, and I guess this was their big coming out party of, hey, we've got Queen.
Huge, man. I remember back on the ship, a couple of things, Pat. Like I heard Lisa Marie Presley was there, and I'm a fan. Looking around, I couldn't find her. Kept bumping into Sex Pistols guitarist, Steve Jones. Kept running into him. All kinds of people. I'm going to let Elizabeth focus in on this, but the theme was a lot like the cover of this, right? You've got these court jesters, and they're doing all kinds of Cirque du Soleil tricks on the ship, and some of them spinning orbs and all that. Really quite interesting. It did resonate a bit with Cirque du Soleil. It was awesome. And then they invited us out, and I'm going to take this away from you, Elizabeth, and we'll put this back. So they invited us out on the forward deck. Actually, I stand corrected. We are on the stern area of the Queen Mary, and they have fireworks display. Now, when Disney puts on a fireworks display, you can bet it's awesome.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've been down there for one of their displays, and it's incredible.
Totally incredible. So they did it for 5 minutes and 55 seconds. You know why, Pat?
Why?
That's how long Bohemian Rhapsody is.
They did a fireworks display.
To Bohemian Rhapsody.
Oh, my God.
It was
awesome.
Yeah, man.
That would have been awesome. So you're on the ship?
Yeah.
And are they launching the Innuendo album? Is that the whole idea?
100%. And now, folks, okay, of a certain age, I just want to say that's a CD, okay? And I love it. Pat earlier eloquently described that. That's one of these. It's a vinyl record that's melted right down to a singularity, and that rainbow color comes out in one of these, a compact disc, folks, and you get the most awesome cover for it. Now, on that ship, they were presented with a gold record for this album.
for Innuendo.
Yeah, and what was really cool is that I've seen all sorts of presentations, and they're usually vinyl. And this was the first time I saw a CD, a gold CD, presented to somebody.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
did it do that well? Did it hit gold?
It hit 30 on the Billboard chart, so it was gold. It would be the last gold record that Freddie Mercury would participate in. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was his last album.
But I got to hear Bohemian Rhapsody earlier,
So
a couple days ago.
Before you were on the Queen Mary.
Yeah, so the preamble, if you will, was I got to go to the Sunset Marquis. Now, earlier discussions Pat and I have had, I talked about meeting Robert Plant there. How cool. And the Sunset Marquis is the place to be if you're a rock and roll star.
It certainly is the place to be if you're a rock and roll star.
Yeah.
And because Plant wasn't the only guy you met there.
Well, I think Aerosmith, Steve Tyler described it appropriately. He said, it's fucking awesome. So, but it's cool because it's right off Sunset Boulevard. It was always close to Tower Records, which is really cool if you like retail vinyl.
Yeah.
But I walk into his posh little cabin. His baby grand piano was recessed in another room. Okay.
Who's baby grand piano?
Brian May, the guitarist of Queen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
So let me get my head around this.
Thank you, Pat.
So we started off. You're at the boat, but that's sort of like that's not how it began. You met Brian May first a couple of days ago, a day previous.
Yes.
At the Sunset Marquis.
Yeah. Pat always does a great job of navigating and bringing it back to parameters we understand. Thank you, Pat.
Yeah, because sometimes I don't understand. And,
No, you do a great job of it, man. And I know.
Okay, so we're at the Sunset Marquis.
Yeah.
And they got the nice brunch there with the cantaloupe at the end. It's very nice.
Yeah.
And,
Yes.
and so you're with Brian May.
Yeah, man.
Oh, that must have been sensational.
Totally cool. Now imagine this guy. He's a lovely man, right? He's like 6'2", but he's a tall, gangly guy. And he always reminded, had a friend back in the day, a guy named Jim Proust. I remember, hi, Jim. And Jim was taller than all of us, way taller. But Jim always did this to be the status quo height.
Oh, okay,
so his whole life is, and I kind of got that sense from Brian as well, right? He always was there to fit in, and good for you, man. But what's Brian? Brian's got the greatest shock of hair, man, in the world. And now it's turned gray, and guess who he looks like? Sir Isaac Newton.
Isaac Newton.
Really, and it's a great thing because in 2007 he got his PhD in astrophysics, man.
Yeah, I heard he's,
Wow.
I heard he's quite a sensational fellow.
Yes.
I have not met him.
Yeah.
But you have. And so he never travels without instrument and guitars and stuff.
Yes.
So tell me.
Well, if you're a guitar player and you're a guitar player, you got to keep working his fingies. That's part of the job. And so right in the middle, and I didn't know this was the coveted Red Special guitar. Now, quickly as an aside, the Red Special was a guitar that Brian May built with his dad because Brian is one of the exceptional guitarists, and what was important to him was, again, we talked a little bit of Eddie Van Halen. He wanted the Gibson feel of the hit, but big thing for him was the whammy bar. He was big on the tremolo, right? Mm-hmm. And so he and his dad made this guitar. So the Red Special sat there throughout most of their afternoon as we were chatting about all sorts of things about Queen, of course.
Sure. And the funny thing about his guitar is he made it, and very few people do that. But it has such a unique sound. Like when you hear the Queen sound, when you hear Brian May's sound, you know, oh, that's Queen.
Yeah.
Like you pin it right away.
Yeah.
I always know when Brian has put a bit on somebody else's record. You know, even if he hasn't told me, I know. I know it's this guitar.
I love that you say that, and I would further cite, Pat, the fact that he was accompanied by Roger Taylor, who is one of the world's greatest drummers.
Yeah, the drummer.
And Roger had his own connect because they were great on harmonies, and he was quite a vocalist. And surprisingly, he was also quite the rhythm guitarist. He had his own band there for a while, and he was playing guitar, right? But he's known as a drummer. So that kind of guitar playing, the kind of, several octave high voice of Freddie Mercury, the great drumming. Again, these are the pieces, the aggregate, if you will, to make something really amazing.
Oh, yeah. That band in its prime was phenomenal. I got to see them twice.
Did you know that Beelzebub has a devil for you, for you, for you? And that was in my mind just before Brian May walked over to that friggin' Red Special, picked it up and said, would you like to hear something? No, Brian, of course, wow, you kidding? And so there he was, he launches into the chorus of Bohemian Rhapsody, right? And I'm sitting there gobsmacked going, wow. if Mrs. LaBar could ever see this. Now, Mrs. LaBar was my best friend's mom. When Doug and I were playing Night at the Opera way too loud every night, you know, it's a 1975 release, so we're kids of this analog 70s, dude. All I remember is the broom hitting the roof. Shut up. And I'm waiting for somebody to hit me with a broom. It didn't happen. It was amazing.
So, wait a minute. So, Brian May started playing.
And right there, I saw myself like this as Mike Myers in a pacer going,
Right. So you, Mike Myers, way to do it. No, he really hit something with that song.
They brought it back.
Because that was every little dude's moment, right?
Yeah.
That was everybody's moment.
Because old timers like Elizabeth and Katie here, our millennial shooters, they remember that. Actually, they don't. Okay. So anyhow.
Yeah. But okay, so let's think about this timing wise.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, very astute.
Right. So Queen sells out their catalog to Disney.
Yep.
And that's 1990.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And Innuendo, love you guys, but meh.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's fair.
But then 92, Wayne's World came out.
Brilliant. And it just went stratosphere.
You're right.
So we said earlier that catalog in today's dollars would be 150 after that song. What do you win? 300? Oh. After the Wayne's World?
Wait, yeah, that would have made their money back.
Yeah.
That would have made their money back.
Oh, yeah.
Because that song became, I think, an even bigger hit the second time around.
I would think so.
That song.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know?
Yeah.
Because of that movie. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. Roger Taylor, he dropped in for a little bit.
So you got to see Roger Taylor and Brian May at the Sunset Marquis.
Roger was fleeting. He was a pleasant guy. He just wanted to drop in and say hello, see what was going on.
Right.
Loved it. Loved the company. And then he split. But Brian hung out. And Brian said something to me so prophetic, and I didn't get it. I didn't get it, Pat, until the next night when we went to the Queen Mary party.
Okay.
And Brian said to me off camera, he said, Tony, things have changed a lot for us in the last several months. And I didn't know what he was saying to me, Pat. Okay? So I'm at the party, and Disney knows how to do a party. Fair enough? I think we can all take that into assessment. Yeah. And so what happened was all the band members were there. Brian was asked to go up on stage, take his Red Special up, play a tune. Roger Taylor went up, but they also had another drummer accompanying him, which is interesting. Right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And there was no Freddie Mercury, Pat. However, what they did is they had an animatronic figure would sing Innuendo. And if any of you have been to Disney World and seen the Hall of Presidents or Pirates of the Caribbean, right, you'll see the perfect display of animatronics.
They made a Freddie Mercury animatronic?
Yeah, and it was wild because it was translucent, so you could see all the mechanisms, wire, and it was really quite elegant, actually, kind of surreal. And then it dropped for me, Pat. I went, okay, Mr. Mercury is probably not well. Because rumors were rampant. It was the National Enquirer interest at that time, what was happening to Freddie Mercury, why were we not seeing him? And don't forget, Freddie Mercury, 8 months from when we were at the Queen Mary, passed away 8 months later. And it wasn't until the night before he died that he went on record and said that he was suffering from AIDS.
Right. Yeah, I remember that. And
very poignant, man.
It's interesting because it was still in the consciousness of the time that being gay was still outed wrong.
Oh, yeah.
That consciousness hadn't come in. So to actually come out and say you were dying of AIDS, especially somebody of Freddie Mercury's caliber, that would have been huge.
That's an awesome citation, and the great thing is that we keep evolving. And if you look at how we describe, we understand gender, or if we talk about different persuasion, we refer to the acronym LGBTQ2+ community. And what's really interesting is that we evolved the last while, and we've added the 2+. And for those of you who don't know, it means it's First Nations identifying somebody of a different persuasion. And so why I'm saying that is that we keep evolving, we keep building better tolerances and better empathy. But at that time in 1990, dare I say, I had AIDS.
You've got the AIDS.
Oh, God,
no way.
Never never said that.
No,
It was
no,
taboo.
no.
And
So I think in the end they handled it the right way.
Yeah.
What I found out since then is that both Brian and Roger really, really took it hard. And apparently they took it so hard that Brian May, I think, went on record to say that they've kind of believed they weren't even in Queen anymore. They sort of disavowed themselves from it, right? For a period. It's amazing. It's amazing because they were so hurt by it. And those of you who have had some deep depression or lost somebody you loved, you can empathize. You do these things. It happens, right?
oh yeah, and they're a unit, right?
Yeah, 100%.
And bands, bands are family.
Yeah.
I mean, there's fights and there's all of the elements that want to grow, and some do and some don't. But in the end, bands really are that close-knit community that emotes a vibration to.
And
to
you
people.
know this when you're on the road living with somebody. Man, you become close. A week on the road is like living a month or 2 months at home with somebody. It's amazing. Because it's condensed, right? Now, I wanted to move on to a happier note, and this is the great serendipity of the show.
Sure.
Okay, so one of the guys hanging out with us, because in LA, it's all about the cool, Pat.
It sure is.
So we were looking Canuck cool because we had the Queen Canucks. We were kind of hanging. Michael Williams, myself, Roger, Brian. Looks pretty cool at a big party when they're the feature.
Yeah.
So one of the movie moguls, modern movie moguls, Michael Eisner, joins us, the CEO, chairman, the guy who started the Disney decade in the 90s. Don't forget, he brought it all back with Littlest Mermaid. He's building an empire, more parks, all of that.
That's right.
This is
He's
Michael
building it up.
Eisner. So he joins us for cocktails.
Oh, he ended up on the boat too.
Yes.
Oh, well, I guess it's his 10 million, right?
So-
Going into the band.
I'm meeting one of the modern movie moguls. That's up there with Katzenberg, Jeremy Katzenberg, Bruckheimer, Spielberg. I met Spielberg once, actually. It was awesome. But these are the moguls of Al. These are the movers and shakers, man, right?
So he's on the boat.
Yes.
With now, did you get to interview him? Did you hang out with him? Did
We
you
were
talk to
hanging
him?
out. We were golfing buddies having a drink, man. It was wild, right?
Really? You like the Canuck vibe?
Yeah, totally Canuck vibe. Now, years later, I spent a small fortune in around 2013, and I went on, and this is great, man. I went on a Disney cruise, okay?
Oh,
And I
okay,
went
that's
on
where
this.
the boat comes
This
from.
is the magic.
Okay,
That's the
all right.
magic. And
I
actually,
got
see
you.
that little magic marker mark? That's the room we stayed at. So it was pretty cool watching sunsets. But I tell you this because I'm kind of a gregarious guy. I like to chat a little bit. And so I started chatting to a lot of the folks who are working the vessel because I find their work is fascinating. And lo and behold, I guess they thought they figured out I filmed rock stars and work with Michael Eisner. And the next thing you know, we suddenly get all this VIP service. Every day I'm getting a bouquet of fresh fruit and stuff I never got. I'm getting champagne at night I never paid for because I'm looking at a bill. I don't see it. And we're moved to the VIP table. So a lot of the times I'm eating with the captain of the ship now, which is crazy. And Rhonda was there and she's listening and she heard some of the porters go, "Oh, no, he's a friend of Michael Eisner." And I went, sometimes you just got to roll with him, man.
Yeah. Oh, you and him are good buddies. You and Mike. Yeah.
So thank you, Mr. Eisner. Awesome. That was a really great trip. And I did endorse your product. So reciprocity. Thank you.
So that's great.
Yeah, man.
So you got to meet
Yeah.
Brian May, yet
Yeah.
another rock and roll legend,
Yes.
and Roger Taylor. You got a thing with drummers,
I do. Right. I love
that's
it.
cool.
Send people into percussion, man.
Yeah. And again at the Sunset Marquis.
Yeah.
And now on the Queen Mary with Michael Eisner, and then the band is playing with a robot. Like this is, if you put this into
It's a rock and roll story, man.
it's a rock and roll story.
Yeah.
A robot, Freddie Mercury. Like,
Yeah.
are you living
Yeah.
in your future? And this was 1990.
Yeah. And again, in the book, I delve into it a little bit deeper on some of the aspects that you'll find a very interesting read. But it's part of that, the notion, there's selected essays of the crossroads. This is a crossroad. Think of that juncture.
Yeah.
What was happening. And it was quite an enlightening story. And a lot of discoveries came a little after. Like a lot of times I told you, I'm in the moment. And little time to process it, just time to react.
Yeah.
Time to be a person. And then when I have time to distill it, then I can go, oh, these are the events that occurred. This is the repercussion this is the connection. So pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
man.
I'm sure those guys really wanted to say what was going on because they were hurting.
Oh man!
But-
Imagine what Brian was carrying there. Had I known, if I might have said, I could have triggered something. And maybe he was glad that. Maybe it's a good thing it didn't happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Tony, again,
Thank you.
fascinating, stories, robots, boats, guitar legends,
Submarines.
submarines.
That's another story.
Yeah. Well, thanks for tuning in to Confessions of a Rock and Roll Cameraman. It's always a great tale here. And if you haven't seen our past episodes, I invite you to, because there's a lot of great content. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe us on YouTube, and also like, subscribe, and tell all your best friends about us on Apple Podcast, Spotify, SoundCloud, and all the other podcast places that we are in. And there's so many. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.